Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Bernardo Paul. You're watching World Today and let's take a look at our top 10 stories. President Donald Trump said the US is negotiating with Iran right now after Tehran demanded that planned talks be held in Oman, not Turkey, and that the scope be narrowed. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump wouldn't say where the talks later this week would be held.
And it didn't work out, and we did.
Crowds gathered at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis early Wednesday as buses carrying returning Palestinians arrived after crossing from Rafah Crossing, which Israel reopened on Monday. 2 buses escorted by United Nations vehicles brought returnees from Egypt. Rafah, Gaza's main gateway to the outside world, is reopening in phases under tight security after being largely closed during the war. Former Thai Prime Minister Apisit Vejjajiva has returned to frontline politics and will contest the February 8 election, reviving the Democrat Party. The Democrats once dominated southern Thailand and Bangkok, but lost ground after the 2014 military coup. Apisit, who served as Prime Minister from 2008 to 2011, previously faced mass protests by the Red Shirt movement, linked to former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra. India's Supreme Court has sharply criticized Meta platforms, especially WhatsApp, saying it cannot exploit the personal data of Indian citizens. The court was hearing Meta's appeal against a ruling that upheld a 2.13 billion rupee penalty imposed over WhatsApp's privacy practices, a fine that has reportedly been paid. The ruling reinforces India's stand on protecting citizens' data from global tech giants. French investigators have searched the Paris offices of social media platform X, owned by billionaire Elon Musk, as part of an ongoing probe. The platform has been under investigation in Paris for nearly a year over allegations its algorithm amplified far-right content, with new claims involving deepfake material generated by its AI chatbot. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced plans to ban children under 16 from using social media as part of tougher rules on digital platforms. Platforms will be required to introduce age verification measures, while the new bill will hold digital executives criminally liable and target algorithm manipulation. NASA has delayed the launch of its first crewed moon flyby in more than 50 years after leaks were detected during final tests of its Space Launch System rocket. The next possible launch window for the Artemis 2 mission is now set for 6 March. NASA says the test provided critical data, with Mission Chief John Honeycutt stressing safety remains the top priority as engineers make final adjustments. A bus returning from a religious festival in northeast Brazil crashed on Tuesday, killing at least 16 people, including 4 children. The bus carrying around 60 passengers veered off a curve and overturned in rural Alagoas. Authorities said the victims included 7 women, 5 men, and 4 children. Arsenal have booked their place in the League Cup final for the first time in 8 years after edging Chelsea 1-0 in the semi-finals second leg at the Emirates Stadium. Substitute Kai Havertz scored late to seal the 4-2 aggregate victory, setting up a final clash at Wembley Stadium on 22nd March against either Manchester City or Newcastle United. Marc Marquez topped the timesheets in Moto GP pre-season testing at Sepang International Circuit, marking a strong return to action. The Ducati Lenovo team rider, sidelined since October after a crash that left him with a collarbone injury, clocked the fastest lap of the day at 1 minute 57.01 seconds. That's our top 10 stories, and up next, the complete World Today Bulletin. Stay tuned.
Dunia digital penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akal Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau ONSA dikuat kuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. Pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Dengan ONSA, internet kini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump says the United States is negotiating with Iran right now, confirming talks are underway despite rising tensions. Trump made the remarks at the White House on Tuesday shortly after a U.S. fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone that approached the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea.
On Iran, are the negotiations still happening this week?
Yeah.
Where will they be? And what do you need to hear from
The
Iran?
rollover, but they are negotiating. They'd like to do something, and we'll see if something is going to be done. They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out, and we did Midnight Hammer. I don't think they want that happening again, but they would like to negotiate. We are negotiating with them right now, yes.
Mr. President, where will the meeting be? It seems like
I
it's
can't tell
changing.
you that.
Iran's foreign ministry confirmed preparations are in progress to hold talks with the U.S. in the coming days, with discussions ongoing on the venue. Reports say Iran is pushing for direct talks and a possible change of venue from Istanbul to Oman. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said Lebanon must not be dragged into any new conflict. Speaking during a dialogue session at the World Government Summit in Dubai, Salam called on Arab countries to support the Lebanese armed forces, saying stronger backing is needed to reinforce state control across the entire country. He said a conference will soon be held in Paris to support the Lebanese army and invited active participation from Arab nations.
ولكن نحن مش حنسمح ابدا باحد يدخل البلد بمغامره جديده. كفانا مغامرات. دخلنا بمغامره ما سمي بحرب اسناد غزه، كلفتها على لبنان ما بدي اقول كانت كبيره، كانت كبيره جدا جدا جدا، وما في حدا بقى مستعد يعرض البلد لمغامرات من هذا النوع.
Salam added that sovereignty and reform are the two main pillars needed to save Lebanon and restore security for its people. Under mediation by the United States and France, Lebanon and Israel reached a fragile ceasefire that took effect on 27 November 2024. However, Israel has continued to launch strikes on Lebanon over what it describes as Hezbollah threats and has maintained a military presence at 5 key locations along the Lebanese border. Former Thai Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva has returned to the national political stage and will contest the upcoming election scheduled for 8 February. His comeback has sparked a revival of the Democrat Party. Abhisit's return is set to reshape an electoral race that had previously been seen as a three-way contest between the ruling Phumthai Thai Party, the Progressive People's Party, and the populist Pheu Thai
every time
Party.
I meet ordinary people, they are frustrated with the lack of choice. They want the country to move forward. They think we've been stuck in a trap, economic trap, because it's been low growth for maybe over a decade now. But also the political trap, where they still feel that politics is maybe about politicians, wheeling, dealing, and not much in terms of their interests in the equation.
The Democrats had long dominated southern provinces and Bangkok before losing influence following the 2014 military coup. During his tenure from 2008 to 2011, Abhisit faced prolonged street protests from the Red Shirt movement, aligned with former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra. The reopening of the Rafah border crossing is widely seen as long-awaited and encouraging news. However, for some Palestinians, it does not mark the end of suffering, with claims that oppression continues. Among those affected is 56-year-old Palestinian woman Huda Abu Abed. She was among a small number of people allowed back into Gaza after Israel's delayed reopening of the Rafah crossing under last year's ceasefire. Huda said she was blindfolded, handcuffed and interrogated by Israeli forces as she tried to return home.
أخذني الجيش حط على عيني وربط لي ايديا أخذونا جوا أخذونا في مكان بعدين طلعوني منه فكوا عن عيني قال لي أنت عارفة وين أنت قلت والله أنا إيش عرفني أنا عارف أنت وين حاطني أنا مش عارف بعدين أنا إيش عامل أنت عشان أنت تعمل فيا هيك قال اسكتي سكتت.
Huda and her family are now living in a tent in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. She had spent a year in Egypt receiving treatment for a heart condition but returned before completing her medical care. According to Palestinian and Egyptian sources, around 50 Palestinians were expected to enter Gaza on Monday. However, by nightfall, only 3 women and 9 children had been allowed through, with 38 others still waiting to clear security. Thousands of supporters of Venezuela's deposed President Nicolas Maduro marched through Caracas, demanding his release 1 month after he was ousted and taken to the United States to face trial. The rally saw crowds chanting, "Venezuela needs Nicolas," waving national flags and carrying pictures of both Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. Supporters, many wearing the red colors of the ruling Chavista movement, marched several hundred meters through the capital, accompanied by music blaring trucks. The demonstrations highlight the deep divisions in Venezuelan society as acting President Delcy Rodriguez seeks to maintain support both domestically and from Washington. U.S. envoy Laura Dogu recently outlined a 3-phase plan aimed at transitioning Venezuela towards stability and democracy. Maduro and Flores remain in custody in New York, awaiting trial on drug-related charges. And still ahead, Paris police raid ex-officers as part of expanded criminal probe. Stay with us. Welcome back. India's Supreme Court on Tuesday strongly criticized Meta platforms, particularly WhatsApp, over their privacy policies, saying the company cannot exploit the personal data of Indian citizens. Millions of Indians use Meta-owned platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads for daily messaging and video sharing. The court was hearing appeals by Meta challenging a ruling by the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, which had upheld a penalty of over 2.13 billion rupees imposed by the Competition Commission of India over WhatsApp's privacy practices. The penalty has reportedly been paid. The 3-judge bench warned that Meta's practices undermine constitutional privacy rights. Chief Justice Surya Kant highlighted that many poor and less educated users may accept WhatsApp's take it or leave it policy without understanding its consequences. He said that WhatsApp practices effectively amounted to stealing private information and would not be allowed. The Supreme Court's ruling reinforces India's commitment to protecting citizens' data and privacy rights in the face of global tech companies. French investigators on Tuesday searched the Paris offices of social media platform X, owned by billionaire Elon Musk. The Paris prosecutor's office said Musk and former X chief executive Linda Yaccarino have been summoned for questioning on April 20th. Officers from European policy agency Europol were also present during the search. X has been under investigation in the French capital for about a year over allegations that its algorithm was manipulated to give greater visibility to far-right content. New allegations have also emerged that the company's AI chatbot generated deep-fake content involving women and children, including Holocaust denial and sexually explicit images. Paris prosecutor Laure Becau said the investigation aims to ensure that X operates in France in compliance with national law. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez announced plans to ban children under the age of 16 from accessing social media as part of a broader push to tighten regulation of digital platforms. Now, the move is aimed at protecting minors from what he described as an uncontrolled digital space, accusing social media companies of ignoring laws and allowing crime to spread online. Speaking at the World Government Summit in Dubai, Sánchez said platforms will be required to introduce age verification measures, while the bill to be approved next week will place criminal liability on digital platform executives and criminalize algorithm manipulation.
Change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites. This means that CEOs of these techno platforms will face criminal liability for failing to remove illegal or hateful content.
He warned that disinformation, including AI-generated child abuse material and false claims spread online, possess a threat to Spain's digital sovereignty. 6 European countries are now pushing for tougher regulation and will meet soon to discuss further action. A bus returning from a religious festival in northeast Brazil crashed on Tuesday, killing at least 16 people, including 4 children. The bus carrying around 60 passengers veered off the road on a curve and overturned in the rural interior of Alagoas, throwing some passengers from the vehicle while others were trapped underneath. Officials said the victims included 7 women, 5 men and 4 children. Survivors were rushed to local hospitals with at least 1 child critically injured. The bus was reportedly returning from religious festival in Ceará. Alagoas governor has declared 3 days of mourning as investigations into the crash continue. 14 migrants died in the Aegean Sea of Greece after their boat collided with a Coast Guard vessel while heading towards Chios, just off the coast of Turkey. The incident happened after the migrants were ordered to turn back, with officials saying smugglers maneuvered the boat towards the Coast Guard vessel, causing the collision. 2 Coast Guard officers were injured and taken to hospital, while 24 migrants were rescued. Authorities believe between 30 and 35 people were on board. A search and rescue operation is ongoing, involving Coast Guard ships, private boats and divers. Greece remains a key entry point into Europe for migrants and refugees from the Middle East. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of Libya's late long-time ruler Muammar Gaddafi, was killed on Tuesday after gunmen stormed his home in the western town of Zintan. According to his French lawyer Marcel Tisaldi, said that Saif al-Islam, 53, was shot dead at around 2 p.m. local time by a 4-man armed group at his residence. Libyan media reported that the attackers disabled surveillance cameras before carrying out the killing. The identities of the assailants and their motive remain unclear. Saif al-Islam had long been viewed by some supporters as his father's successor. despite being wanted by the International Criminal Court over alleged crimes against humanity. In 2021, he announced plans to run for president, though Libya's elections were later indefinitely postponed. Sasaldi said security concerns had been raised days before the attack, but Saif al-Islam had declined additional protection. Once seen as a reformist figure before the 2011 Arab Spring uprising, his image later collapsed after he threatened violent crackdowns against protesters.
Jom meriahkan sambutan Hari Radio Sedunia pada 12 hingga 14 Februari bermula 9 pagi hingga 10 malam bertempat di Dataran Warisan Taiping. Pelbagai aktiviti menarik menanti seperti Forum Perdana Ehwal Islam, siaran langsung Selamat Pagi Malaysia, konsert Hari Radio Sedunia, DJ Corner, aktiviti bersama DJ, ada juga pameran, gerai dan semestinya pelbagai makanan. Dan ada cabutan bertuah menanti anda. Jangan lupa tahu, jumpa di sana.
Padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
Japan's services sector expanded at its fastest pace in nearly a year, while the overall private sector posted the strongest growth in 32 months, a private survey showed. The S&P Global Japan Services Purchasing Managers Index rose to 53.7 in January from 51.6 in December, marking 10 consecutive months of growth. The combined services and manufacturing composite PMI climbed to 53.1, the fastest growth in total private sector output since May 2023, driven largely by services. Survey data showed strong demand for services supported by successful marketing campaigns, new client wins, and growing foreign demand. Employment continued to rise as companies expanded capacity to handle backlogs. Cost pressures ease, with input prices increasing at the slowest rate in nearly 2 years, while selling price inflation accelerated to a 7-month high as businesses pass on higher costs to customers. Business confidence remained positive, fueled by expectations of company expansion, higher customer activity, and broader economic recovery. Meanwhile, some firms expressed concern over the global economic outlook, an aging population, and labour shortages. NASA has delayed the launch of its first crewed moon flyby in more than 50 years after encountering leaks during final tests of its Space Launch System rocket. The next possible launch window is now scheduled for the 6th of March. The issues arose during a 2-day wet dress rehearsal, which involved filling the rocket with liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. While engineers initially managed some leaks, they worsened as the simulated countdown reached T-5 minutes, forcing operations to be stopped. Hydrogen is highly energetic and difficult to contain, and teams also had to address a valve issue related to hatch pressurization, along with intermittent audio dropouts. Johnny Honeycutt, head of the Artemis II mission management team, said the rehearsal provided vital insights into the rocket systems and allowed engineers to see where adjustments are needed before launch. NASA officials noted that these leaks echo problems that delayed Artemis I, the uncrewed moon mission in 2022, and emphasized that the agency is taking every precaution to ensure a safe and successful crewed mission. Fierce winter weather brought air traffic at Frankfurt Airport to a short standstill on Tuesday afternoon. Some departing flights were cancelled, while some arriving planes were sent to other airports. Frankfurt Airport said traffic was back to almost half the normal capacity after clearing the runways of snow. It advised travellers to arrive well ahead of the time of their flights. The German Weather Service issued a warning for northwest and southwest Germany, saying that snowfall, black ice and strong wind were spreading over the region. Germany has been facing heavy winter conditions and temperatures well below 0 degrees since the end of December 2025. Next in sports, Arsenal secure place at Wembley after late goal against Chelsea. Stay tuned. Arsenal are through to the League Cup final for the first time in 8 years after a 1-0 win over Chelsea in the semi-final second leg at the Emirates. Substitute Kai Havertz struck late to seal the 4-2 aggregate victory, completing the job after Arsenal took control in the first leg. It was a long-awaited breakthrough for Mikel Arteta's side, who had lost their previous 4 semi-finals across European and domestic competitions. Arsenal will now face either Manchester City or Newcastle United in the final at Wembley Stadium on 22nd March. City hold a 2-0 advantage ahead of the second leg. The Gunners are chasing their first League Cup title since 1993 and their first trophy since the 2020 FA Cup, the only silverware Arteta has won since taking charge in 2019. Arteta praised his players' resilience and the home support, saying the team fully understood what the occasion demanded. For Chelsea, it was a setback under new manager Liam Rosenior, whose side pushed hard in the second half but lacked the decisive moment. In Moto GP, Ducati Lenovo rider Marc Marquez set the fastest time in pre-season testing in Sepang. Marquez was back on 2 wheels for the first time since being sidelined in October following a crash with Marco Bezzecchi, injuring his collarbone. The current world champion posted a fastest lap time of 1 minute 57.01 seconds to top the timesheet. Marquez had earlier finished 11th in the morning before improving steadily through the day. He was followed by Fabio Di Gianantonio in second and Maverick Vinales in third. Speaking after the test, Marquez said he feels physically good and confident, adding the Sepang test is key preparation ahead of the season opening race in Thailand.
The most important is that the shoulder is working in a good way. That was my main worry, and I need laps. I need to continue with my preparation. I will not say rehabilitation because it's already done, but my preparation for the GP, and preparation means everything. Means technical side and physical side. So yeah, we are happy. The speed is there, but the consistent, obviously, we need to work it.
Formula One team Williams revealed their 2026 racing car, the FW48, along with its new livery. Once a dominant force in Formula One, Williams last won the Drivers' Championship in 1997. But team principal James Vowles believes the sport's major technical overhaul offers a fresh chance to return to the front. Williams will be driven this season by Carlos Sainz Jr. and Alex Albon.
And the team's pulled together more as a result of what's happened, not pulled apart. In terms of driving styles, it's interesting because there's characteristics of both that I think are going to be useful, but they're in different areas of, one's more in braking, one's more in traction, so let's see what happens. But I think you'll find it's track dependent as to where those strengths come in and out.
Despite missing last month's Barcelona shakedown due to development delays, Val says the decision was deliberate, with the team targeting a 5th place finish on the grid.
The ambition is, as I said, P5 is the baseline. I don't want to go behind that. We want to nudge forward. What that looks like, I'm not sure it yet. But right now, even the top 5 don't know who they are, so let's see.
The new Formula One season begins with the Australian Grand Prix on 8 March. And that's it from us. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Solar and Berita RTM. Thank you for watching. I'm Brendan Paul. Salam Malaysia Badani. Take care.